There are a lot of great Casios out there, but I think this is the best looking one I've seen so far. It's the MTP1370L-7A, and I've seen some refer to this as a Casio version of a Rolex Day Date, which honestly, I don't really see that here. I mean, other than the day and the date thing. Because to me, this is much more casual than the Rolex. However, it does remind me of another watch, and that's what's really got me excited about this one. As when I first saw images of this, it immediately reminded me of my Khaki King, another watch with a day date that's not a Rolex. But it is one that's a lot more casual. But at the same time, it looks good enough to pull double duty when you need a dress watch. Now, I still love my Khaki King, and because of that, I just had to pick up one of these Casios to check out, just to see if it could be a budget-friendly alternative. Now, before we really get into it, I have some good news, bad news with this one. Now, the good news is that this is a pretty affordable watch. I picked this one up on Amazon earlier this year for about 50 bucks, and I've seen them for less. But the bad news is that they are getting harder to find. I'm not really sure if they're discontinued or if this is a JDM model or what's going on here, but it's no longer available on the US's Amazon site. Although I'll still include the link to that just in case it ever comes back. However, they are still available on eBay and some other sites. So if you're interested, just kind of look around, and if you really want one, grab one while you can. That said, let's get to it, and let's get the specs out of the way first. This one is 38mm wide with a 44.5mm lug-to-lug, as well as a total thickness of 9.4mm. So it's thin, lightweight at about 50 grams, and just a great size for a lot of people. It's also using a standard 20mm lug width, so lots of aftermarket strap options, which will be important later. And all of this just creates a very comfortable experience on the wrist. This is easily one of those watches that you just forget you're wearing throughout the day. However, water resistance here is only 50 meters, and it is a quartz watch with a louder tick. Now, it's not Timex loud, but if you are in a quiet room, you'll probably notice it. But those are sort of the downsides with this one. Yet at this price, I'd expect there to be something. Moving on, the case here is pretty lightweight, but it still feels like a solid piece of metal. And here Casio does list it as having a polished ion-plated finish. The design of the case has a few nice touches, including some chamfers along each side. But since it is pretty much just shiny polish all over, those chamfers don't quite stand out like some other watches. The crystal here is also mineral, but that's also what you'd expect. And the same goes for the snap-on case back. Even though I hate them, a Casio at this price, I can't really complain too much. The dial's where things get a little more interesting. The base is a silver sunburst with black accents, and the black text does come across nicely. They're easy to make out, but the silver bits here, not quite as much. Meanwhile, the indices here are shallow, but just raised enough to give the watch a slight sense of depth, along with the cutouts for the day and the date. And then topping everything off, it also has somewhat short, but solid silver sword hands. Now, as far as the implementation goes, this isn't a very complex and hard to make dial. But I think its true strength is in its design, as it's straightforward, and I love the overall symmetry. In short, it's a watch that's functional and easy on the eyes. It's also one that strikes a balance between a dress watch and something a little bit more casual. You have the more elegant looking silver sunburst dial paired with the indices, yet the very small addition of the minutes on the inside of those kind of tone it down a bit, makes it more functional and more of an everyday watch. Which is exactly what I love about my Khaki King, and for a while, why it was one of my go-to travel watches. And while this Casio has a different design, I think it also shares a similar feel. It's a watch that you can easily wear with shorts and a t-shirt, but one that wouldn't look completely out of place at a nicer restaurant. I mean, just look at it. It's a pretty sharp-looking watch, and impressively so for the price. Now, that said, there are some things to nitpick here, and number one, of course, is the contrast, or lack thereof. The black version that exists out there will probably be better than the silver version. But as you'd expect, you got silver on silver, contrast isn't the best. It's not bad, I mean, I've definitely seen worse. But still, So just expect to take maybe an extra second or so for your eyes to make out the hands on this one. Next up, we got the lume, or again, lack thereof. So lume here sucks, it's just bad. So bad, I didn't even do my normal test on this one. Probably the first time I hadn't done that in years. From what I was seeing, I just didn't think there was a point. So lume is practically non-existent, and just don't expect much when it gets dark. But I do think that the white lume on the hands does help with making them out during the day, so that's something. Then there's the date down at the bottom. Now, that is a little bit small and hard to read at times, but I think it is there when you need it. And let's get back to the whole ion-plated case thing. This is shiny, and that shiny nature is going to accumulate scratches over time. But as long as you don't really abuse it too much, I mean, this isn't a G-Shock, don't treat it like that. But as long as you treat it with some respect, it should look good for a while. And since this is a reflective silver dial, expect just a little bit of reflection with it. But since it's more of a brush sunburst, it's not too bad. And lastly, the stock strap, as you might expect, sucks. Which isn't this is a replacement strap I threw on this one. The stock strap is right here, and honestly, I don't even know where it is right now. I kind of threw it in a pile months ago. I guess it looks good with this silver dial, but it's really cheap and very stiff. So just do yourself a favor, if you happen to wind up ordering one of these, order another strap at the same time. Even if it's just like a $15 strap, it's going to make a world of difference when you put it on the watch. So bottom line here, it's not perfect, and all these things I kind of pointed out are very reasonable and something you'd expect on a budget-friendly watch. Making this perfect for someone that doesn't really want to spend a lot and also doesn't need a dress watch very often. Yet still wants a good-looking watch that they can enjoy every day and just use for the times they do need something a little bit nicer. So if you're searching for a great-looking, extremely affordable quartz watch that can pull double duty, then this is one to check out. I think it's the sharpest looking regular Casio I've seen. The Oceanus watches definitely look better, but this one's pretty sharp and incredible for the price. And this is the kind of watch that I think makes Casio fans. And, beyond that, I'm not really sure what else to say about this one. That's pretty much it. So as usual, let me know what you think down below about this watch, about Casio, or if you can think of a better budget-friendly dress watch, let me know that as well. And as always, I'm Shane, this is Relative Time, and I'll see you next time.